This is called, who are the Gentiles spoken of? That is, spoken of in the scriptures, because we want to get our definitions right. Scriptures are very much defining exactly what they mean. We'll go to the title page first of all, and we'll read a few other scriptures, because are we Gentiles or are we house of Israel? Well, as Latter-day Saints who've come through the Ephraimite lineages and have come through the Gentiles, we're never called house of Israel in the Book of Mormon. We're called Gentiles, or the Gentiles. And the gospel is restored through the Gentiles to the house of Israel. That's how it happens. So we have a great involvement in this restoration of the house of Israel that hasn't even started yet. We just laid the foundation thus far, as you'll find out. All right, so here's from the title page. It says, written to the Lamanites who are remnant of the house of Israel. And also to the Jew. The Jews, of course, also the house of Israel. There are two houses of Israel, actually, the house of the 10 northern tribes, who are also the house of Israel, and the 3 southern tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But this is speaking to all 12 tribes and the Gentiles, written to the Jew and the Gentile. What Gentiles? Well, just heathen, the heathen nations, somewhere in, in the jungles of wherever? No, it's written to a specific people called the Gentiles. In the Book of Mormon, there are 2 kinds, the ones who inherit the Americas, the ancient pilgrim fathers and all who came after, but also a specific category of Gentiles who receive the gospel. That's us Latter-day Saints. Written by way of commandment and also by the spirit of prophecy and of revelation, because these Book of Mormon prophets, they saw our day. And guess what? They didn't have too many kind things to say about us, unless we do get our acts together and do what the scriptures say. Written and sealed up, hid up unto the Lord, that they might not be destroyed. That is, that the house of Israel lineages might not be destroyed. To come forth by the gift and power of God unto the interpretation thereof, sealed by the hand of Moroni and hid up unto the Lord, to come forth in due time by way of the Gentile. By way of the Gentile, us. And if you read the early writings of the Brethren of the Restoration, Joseph Smith and his companions, and those who came after, in the Journal of Discourses, for example, Wilford Woodruff, you see that it is Ephraim that's gathering. And by definition, the restoration of the gospel and priesthood through the prophet Joseph Smith was called the beginning, or the commencement, or the foundation of the great and marvelous work. It is not itself the great and marvelous work spoken of by Isaiah in the Book of Mormon. That is the restoration of the house of Israel, the Jews, the 10 tribes, and Lehi's descendants, as you'll discover from the scriptures. Right, in Doctrine and Covenants 109, the Temple Dedicatory Prayer, verse 60, Joseph Smith is saying, Now these words, O Lord, which we have spoken before thee concerning the revelations and commandments which thou hast given unto us who are identified with the Gentiles. Unto us who are identified with the Gentiles, by Book of Mormon definition, correct. Thank you, Brother Joseph, you got it right. You got everything right, in fact. It is us who deviate from what is in the scriptures who don't get it right. You have these precepts of men, popular ideas that have no scriptural basis. You constantly have to be fighting against them because they're so prevalent everywhere. And nobody cares to investigate whether they're true or false. And of course, if you live by precepts of men, how can the Holy Spirit testify to you that they're true? You cannot. You are disempowered from doing what you ought to be doing. Here, Hosea chapter 7, verse 8 also says, Ephraim has assimilated among the nations. The King James translates as difficulty. Ephraim has assimilated. Mitbolel means to, in Hebrew, means to assimilate among the nations or Gentiles. Ephraim is a cake unturned. He's only half baked because he's half Gentile and half Israelite. But for convenience sake, in the Book of Mormon, he's called Gentile. Once you assimilate, even 10% of Jews assimilated into the Gentile nation every generation are called Gentiles after a while. But guess what? We're Ephraim among the Gentiles. So we have the birthright lineage. And that becomes very, very important and crucial in the end time scenario that Isaiah and the Book of Mormon talk about. And whenever the Book of Mormon talks about anything in the end time, guess what? They always start with quoting Isaiah. Isaiah is the basis of their end time scenarios that the Book of Mormon writers talk about. And they also do what Isaiah does. You know, it says about 6 times in the Book of Mormon, or more, that they wrote less than 100th part of what they could have written. So what was all the other stuff? What caused them to include so little and exclude so much else? And the answer is Isaiah's criteria. They used Isaiah's criteria for including a little of their story and excluding so much else. And what is that? Because the things they include in the Book of Mormon prefigure the end time. They prefigure or foreshadow events that occur in the end time. So take a look at Helaman, the Book of Helaman. Isn't that very close to what's happening in our day and age? And as you read the Book of Mormon and many chapters, you'll see that these things are repeating themselves or have repeated themselves or will repeat themselves, the very same kinds of things in the end time, the time in which we're living now.